Welcome, everybody. This is Dr. Mike Bucknell, and this month's workshop for July 2010 is on fitness. I want to introduce myself for those of you who do not know me. I'm Dr. Mike Bucknell. I'm a Maximize Living chiropractor in Mobile, Alabama. I've been in practice for 6 years, since 2004, and in that time have just had such an awesome experience being able to see patients by not just the tens or the dozens or the hundreds, but literally in the thousands, transform their lives. Last year alone, about 14,000 people were able to, or 14,000 adjustments were delivered, I guess I should say. But the goal is certainly 14,000 people, that we get to see that many lives transformed, because in a city of over 350,000 people, as is on the Gulf Coast, it's going to take a lot more work than what just Dr. Mike can do to make things change permanently and really see the health of our population back on its feet. So thank God that I get to work with a group of other like-minded professionals. I am one of 500 elite doctors around the country called Maximize Living, and probably another 300 or more chiropractic students who are also on their way into the field. And the entire purpose of Maximize Living, in short, is to transform, literally to change the way that healthcare is both viewed and delivered in our communities. That, people can think health, but if they're not doing health, then it really doesn't do them any good. So we want to see that on a national level or an international or a world level, that health is really changed in the future, and that 100 years from now, we can actually go backwards to where we were 100 years ago as the healthiest country in the world. And that is definitely possible with the tools that we have at our disposal these days. So literally, we live in a day and age where there is no excuse anymore to not be healthy, because never before in our time have we known as much about nutrition. Have we known as much as about detoxification? Have we known as much about fitness or about the nerve system and spinal correction? I mean, this is a moment in time where we literally have the tools to not just make it a reality, but to make it easy. So that's the entire purpose of these workshops, is I want to see you completely transformed in your health, you and your family, so that you can really get the most out of your life as possible. Nobody looks into the future and says, wow, I just can't wait until I'm sitting in the nursing home drooling in my own lap. That my head is practically folded halfway over and I get to stare at my crotch all day long. Nobody says, hey, I just can't wait for that to happen. So reality speaking, we just don't have that as an excuse anymore not to do these things that just keep our health in order. So hold on. Today, I am not going to go through the same old why you need to exercise. You can pick up literally any book on the shelf. I could pick up one of a dozen books on my shelf right now and just read an excerpt out of there or read statistics out of there about why we need to exercise. You need to exercise because it increases oxygenation levels, and you need to exercise because it builds lean muscle, and all the stats about how obese people are. So I'm going to keep this real easy. Guys, look around. Look around you. You see that, most everybody around us is at least 10 pounds overweight. I mean, how many people do here's what it comes down to. All the time people look at me and they say, wow, Dr. Mike, you're really skinny. You're really skinny. And you're probably thinking that right now. Yeah, they're right. Dr. Mike is really skinny. Why do we think that? Have you ever considered that? Why do we think that? Is it because I don't have any lean muscle on my body and I look like an anorexic, or I stepped out of Auschwitz? No, it's because I don't have an extra 10 or 15 pounds hanging off. So I'm not saying that in a condemning way whatsoever. I'm just saying, think about what we see and the way we perceive, because it's based on what we see around us all the time. So, our idea of skinny people is actually normal. That's the way that we're all supposed to look, if we kept ourselves in shape. But, unfortunately, most of us that are listening to this, just aren't in that situation. And by no means am I putting myself on a pedestal or anybody else that is in a level of physical fitness. Because there's a lot of factors that go into it. And I'm sure some of the factors that have gotten you to where you might be, I have not had to deal with. Mainly one of them would be childbirth. I've never had to go through that, thank God. But these kind of factors are real, and they have their effects. So I'm not going to go through all the whys and all the stats and all that kind of boring stuff. I mean, I could waste half an hour doing that. So hopefully with that, we'll be able to keep this workshop a little bit shorter and just really give you the meat. So I want to start with this, the ups and downs of exercise, okay? And we're not just talking, the typical stats. I want to go through some very important pointers that, that really make relevant sense to us individually, okay? So let's start with the ups, because we always want to start on the upside, right? It's like the Oreo cookie, we'll leave the cream filling for the middle, the part that we don't want to deal with. We'll start good, get to the root in the middle, and we'll finish hard and strong as well. So here's the ups. Number one, HGH levels, okay? HGH is human growth hormone. Okay, so think about what that means, human growth hormone. Okay, this hormone is incredibly important in the growth and development of tissues and cells in your body. Okay, this hormone literally keeps your cells healthy, it keeps them functional, it keeps them age-free. Okay, so that your body, have you ever seen somebody that they're, 47, 50 years old? I see this with especially chiropractors all the time. It's amazing. I look at some of these chiropractors and they, and I'm thinking, hey, they're young. I'm talking, people that I listen to and I get coached from, and they're talking. I'm thinking, oh, they're a 40, maybe 42, and they're actually in their mid 50s, because they've been living a healthy lifestyle their entire life, and it shows in the aging process. So HGH is just such a critical hormone because it keeps your body healthy, it keeps it youthful, keeps it alive. But the problem is that hormone naturally depletes as we age. So it peaks out, when we're at our youngest, because it helps to grow and develop the body. But as we get older and older, we get into those later years, that hormone really begins to drop off unless we're doing something about it. So now you don't have to be like Jack LaLanne, and by the way, who is a chiropractor. You don't have to be like him. That of course, if you don't know who he is, he's the juicer guy, the Jack LaLanne's power juicer, who at 95 years old can still curl 140 pounds. I mean, this guy is just in phenomenal shape. So you don't have to do that kind of exercise and keep such a rigorous amount of activity like he does to be able to stay in the kind of shape where you're keeping your HGH levels up. In fact, all it takes is short incremental bursts in order to raise that HGH level and keep it activated. So we're going to get into how to do that a little bit later. Okay, the next thing I want to talk about as far as the ups goes is what I say as getting the momentum with your omentum. Okay, the greater omentum is literally the storage depot for fat, especially in men. Okay, that's where you've all seen them. We call it the beer gut. Okay, the big pot belly that is nice and round, looks like we got a beach ball, hidden underneath our shirt. Okay, and you wonder where that comes from. Most of that comes from, it's called the greater omentum. It's a storage sac it stores excess fat below the stomach. And it's actually a organ with basically an extension coming off of the lower part of the stomach into the abdomen, and it's supposed to just be there as a storage facility for fat. Why? Because fat is good for energy. Okay, so you keep this excess energy in place so that if your battery ever runs low, you've got something for your body to feed off of. But because of all the abnormal fats that we eat in our diet, those fats go to the omentum because your body, it shuttles it there. But unfortunately, because those fats can't really burn because they're unnatural fats, they're going to the right place, but they're not really utilized in the body the way that they're supposed to, so you can't really burn it off. So what happens is that beer gut just continues to get bigger and bigger and bigger, and that's usually the last thing to go. So people start exercising, they start getting some of the weight down and everything, but that gut just doesn't seem to go anywhere. So to get the momentum with your omentum, you've really got to, of course, get that momentum and then keep it moving. But just basic levels of exercise are going to get you at least moving in that direction. Okay, the next thing is leptin. Okay, leptin is a hormone that helps your body to burn fat, and it's really tied in with toxicity because leptin is the hormone that your adipose tissues, the fat cells in your body, send out this hormone leptin. It travels up through the body, reaches the hypothalamus in the brain, and then the hypothalamus has receptors that read those leptin levels and either increase or decrease the rate of fat burning in the body according to what that level is. So naturally, if you've got more fat in the body, then you're going to have a higher level of leptin being released in the body because there's a lot more fat cells to do it. But if you have your leptin receptors in the hypothalamus burned out, which means they're covered in toxins or they're just non-functional for any other reason, neurologically, it can be a lot of different issues, then your body can't hear those signals because the receptors are burned out. So the leptin continues to rise and rise and rise, and you continue to eat and eat and eat because your brain is saying, oh, there's no leptin in the body because those receptors aren't reading anything. So you just continue to eat, you continue to gain weight, and your body never cuts that off. Again, this is one of the hardest things to deal with, okay? Until you really properly detoxify and you get everything out of the system adequately, then it just kind of continues to go with and you can exercise and you can try eating right, but as long as those receptors are burned out, you really cannot move in the right direction. So some of you, if you're leptin resistant, you need to actually be on the daily detox, which is the detox product that we use to get those leptin receptors cleaned up. Okay, to get enough of the sludge out there to where they can start to listen again, and it'll speed up the rate of weight loss within the body. So the next thing is depression, anxiety, and disorders. Okay, I'm not going to go through a lot of research on this other than the big fact that you need to know. The number one, by far, best way to get rid of depression is exercise. It's proven all over the research that exercise is more effective than antidepressants in the reduction of depression. So, why would you take depression medications if you haven't tried exercise? And here's what it comes down to. You just feel better when you move. It's that simple. So that's why it's so effective. You feel better. You feel more powerful when you start feeling better, looking better, and being stronger. So of course your depression is going to start to clear up. So it's just if you're dealing with any kind of depression or anxiety or neurological condition, that is just a natural option is to start exercising. It's just there's really no excuse to let that one go by because it's so important. Okay, the next thing is I want to talk about biological age. Okay, your biological age is not the same as your chronological age. Your chronological age is how long you've been born. Okay, so it's from your birth date to where you are right now. Okay, but your bio age is a marker that has been developed to where, and there's multiple different tests out there that can read it. You can look at based on your daily caloric intake and get a level. You can get a Tanita scale like we use in our office to be able to pull that out. But there's more advanced testings that we're actually investigating into called bioage testing, which looks at a multitude of different factors to see exactly how old the body is in terms of its actual anatomy. And this is really cool because while your body is 47, a lot of people find out that they're actually trapped in the body of a 65-year-old. At the same time, people that have lived and enjoyed a healthy lifestyle they may be 27 years old, but it says that their body is actually only 12. Okay, so it's a big difference, in the aging process of being able to know what that biological age is as opposed to just going by chronology. Because, of course, we all die at different ages, and this is why, because our bodies are aging at different paces. So, keep an eye out for that. You can kind of do some reading online about what the biological age means, but here's the bottom line. Fitness is always a factor of biological age. It is almost impossible to get down your biological age without changing your fitness activity. On the same note, the easiest way to change your biological age is fitness. It turns around so many of the processes in the body, because most processes in the body, actually all processes, have to do with muscular contraction and coordination. So you start getting the movement all back into sync and activated. That's when you really see a big difference. Okay, so let's go through the downs. Okay, the downs of exercise, yes, there are actual downs, and a lot of times these aren't really looked at or not really stressed as much. The first one is actually stress. Okay, of course, exercise is a stress on the body. I mean, you can't deny that. Anytime that you're putting any kind of excessive activity on the body, it's like going out and turning on your engine of your car and racing down the street at 130, 140 miles an hour, if your car it will even go that fast. You're putting stress on that engine every time you do it. So while you have all these benefits, yes, there are stresses too. Now, do not even think about using that as an excuse not to exercise, though, because that excuse just doesn't work. You need that stress. Stress is what makes you grow. Stress is what makes you develop. It's what takes your life to the next level. If you never come against any kind of an obstacle in life, what happens the first time something bad occurs? You don't know how to react to it. You don't know how to respond to it. And you go into a state of, guess what? Depression and anxiety. And this is the biggest issue, because most people have not really built up the discipline and the activity in their life to overcome, because they haven't really gotten their body worked up to those stress levels to know how to deal with it. So cortisol levels increase. There's a lot of different factors. In some cases, you can even, if you're doing the wrong kind of exercise, the long sustained exercise. For example, I've run marathons, and with a marathon, you are pushing your body well beyond in any kind of a reasonable limit, for most people's anatomy. My knees did not like it going further than about 20 miles, yet I had another 6 miles to go after that. So, it took a while before my knees really were happy with me again, and before they started to feel normal again. So all these things, they can create stress in the body, but you can't really look at that. Okay, the second one, the most obvious one, you don't like it. Okay, that's fair enough. You don't like exercise, but you know what? There's a lot of things that you don't necessarily like, but you need to do anyways. I'll tell you, a lot of patients don't like the fact that they have to pay for their chiropractic care. I'd love to be able to give away care, but unfortunately, that's not the way the world works. And and you've got to be able to value what it is that you're doing. So, even though you don't like doing it, you build value in it because it comes with a price. Okay? So really think about that. You don't necessarily have to like it, but we are going to talk about that a little bit more in detail on how you actually learn to love exercise. Okay? Number 3, it's hard to make a habit. Habits are definitely hard to make, but in saying so, I am going to point this out. I'm going to put out the obvious or the positive to it, I guess I should say. It used to be known, and it used to be thought, that it took about 27 days to make a habit, 27 repetitions, if you will, to make a habit. Okay, then they lowered the number down to 18. Well, guess what the new research says? It comes with a decision. They're actually finding that a habit literally starts with one decision. That's it. You decide, and it's a habit after that. Because if you decide that all of a sudden, because you're a mother and you're a drinker, okay, you have a habit of dropping a half a bottle of Jack Daniels every night, and you find out that you're pregnant, well, then you can very quickly, with one decision, change that habit. So in other words, you had one habit before, which was drinking, and now you make a decision and you now have a new habit, which is not drinking. Okay, a habit is just what you do as a regular standpoint, on a regular basis. So it applies just as much to what you don't do as what you do. Okay, so if you're not doing exercise right now, then understand you've got a habit of being lazy. Okay, that's what that really means. So you want to get out of the habit of being lazy, and you want to get into the habit of being in great shape and achieving your fitness goals and living the life that God wanted you to live. Okay, so the next point though, hey, it may not work. You're right. I mean, the exercise may not work right away, but we got to look at that and say, well, what is the definition of work? What is your definition of work? What does it mean to you to need to work? Does that mean that you have to lose weight? Well, that's funny because I have a lot of patients that they don't lose weight, but they're losing inches. What is it that you're really going after? So you've got to get clear on that. Just what the scale says does not really make that much of a difference whatsoever. There's football players that weigh 300 pounds, yet they're in better shape than most all of us. So weight really doesn't make that big of a difference one way or the other. You should be looking at lean muscle mass. You should be looking at how your body is able to function in fitness on a regular basis. We call it functional fitness. Okay, you look at all these factors put together, and it's just you want to get clear on the fact that here's what is working every single time that you're getting healthier. That's really all you need to know, that every time that you exercise, that you're building your body in the right direction. So make that your judgment on if it's working or not, okay? Exercise won't fix all your problems. A lot of the so-called gym rats, people that hang out in the gyms or in the gyms every day, a lot of these, not all of them, we've definitely got patients, and I guess you could say I'm a gym rat myself, but a lot of these people out there, they think that just because they're in a great condition physically, that they've got some pretty good sized biceps, and then because they've got a six-pack, that all of a sudden magically that means that they're healthy. And that just simply is not true. You can be in a good physical condition and have muscles and still have cancer. You can still have your health deteriorating. You can still have your spine deteriorating. In fact, you can actually make it deteriorate faster. So you've got to look at exercise as it's just one of the 5 essentials, because it is only one of the 5 essentials. If you skip out on any single one of the 5 essentials, then you're really not doing what it takes to get the most out of your life. Guys, think about it. It's your life. How much do you really owe it to yourself to be contributing to that every single day? Okay? So be looking at all the 5 essentials. The next thing, fitness level isn't really self-maintaining. It's that is definitely a down, because it means you can't just do it once and live off and reap the benefits for the rest of your life. It's not like a bank account where you can go and you can make a lot of money for 20 years and then retire and live off of that for the rest of your life. Unfortunately, it really doesn't work that way. You've got to maintain a marginal level of fitness wherever you are, because you can have a lot of lean muscle, and if you stop exercising, like you might have seen Arnold Schwarzenegger do at times, where it just starts turning into skin, literally hanging off of your bones. So you've got to maintain it for the rest of your life. So that is definitely a down in some people's eyes. Okay. With all this in consideration, here's the blank reality. If you don't, you'll die. Okay? And I'm saying that from the bottom of my heart. because I want to change that for you. I want to see that you take this moment seriously, that right now as you're listening to this, you make a commitment to yourself that I'm not going to have the habit of laziness anymore. Because wake up, people. I mean, wake up. If we don't do the basics that we need to keep our spines healthy, to keep our nutrition clean, to keep our body clear of toxins, to move our arms and our legs and our muscles every single day, we are robbing ourselves of valuable life. And as you rob yourself of that valuable life, you're robbing your family and friends of you. Okay? You're literally taking you out of their life. And, I've never met a grandchild who says, wow, I really wish my grandparents had died earlier so I didn't have to know them. Unfortunately, I've had to see a lot of bad things happen in my career. I'm in the health business, so you see people die a lot, and not one time have I ever heard anybody say, I wish that that person just hadn't spent as much time as they did worrying about their health. What a waste of time. No, I mean, it's always the opposite. That, I wish they had known to do it differently. I wish they had known. So we've got to learn to love exercise, okay? And here's a few things that I want to give you to learn how to literally love what it is that you're doing exercising, okay? First thing is to realize the best and most rewarding things in life have always required sacrifice. Okay? A great physique doesn't happen without constant, ongoing attention. It doesn't happen, fitness is not a spectator sport. Okay? You've got to be working on it. You've got to be pouring into it. Any part of your life, period, any individual part of your life that you want to be at the top of its game, if you want to have it all, you've got to pay attention to it all. You've got to be constantly striving and moving in that direction. It doesn't just come easy. A great marriage doesn't come without communication. A great marriage doesn't come without sacrifice. It doesn't come without putting yourself, or putting your spouse, rather, above yourself. It doesn't come without not being able to say, it's my fault, even when it's not your fault. All these things are absolute prerequisites to building a great marriage. It means it requires sacrifice of self. The Bible says that you are joined as one flesh. So what that means is you're giving up a level of yourself. You're literally sacrificing your personal your personal limitations, or the expounding of your boundaries. You're breaking all that down and putting yourself inside the fences of your spouse. You're giving away a part of your freedom. Yet, of course, we all know who have a great marriage, it gives you freedom in doing so. You give up freedom, but you get freedom in return. Freedom from worry, freedom from abuse, freedom from a lot of other things, So, that's just one other example. Great friends, great friends don't come without forgiveness and acceptance. You've got to be able to forgive your friends. You got to be able to accept them as they are, and not say, well, because they don't think exactly like I do, well, then I don't think we ought to be friends with them. People that act like that, they typically end up not having too many friends, or the type who, they might claim to have friends or acquaintances, but all of a sudden when it comes down to it, they realize they don't really have any close friends. People that they can call up at 10 o'clock at night without feeling awkward. But when you learn to forgive and you learn to accept people exactly as they are, even if you don't agree with something about them, that's how you develop great friends. A baby without 9 months in labor. I mean, just think about that one. If a mom could get pregnant and next day it popped out like a chicken egg, look at chickens. Do they value their eggs all that much? I mean, it's just kind of like, okay, grab it. I'm going to make a new one tomorrow. It's no big deal. But a baby takes 9 months of constant attention and appointments and nurturing and discipline and restriction and all these different things that you have to sacrifice. My goodness, can't have a glass of wine in 9 months. Can't have a beer in 9 months. Can't smoke a cigarette 9 months. For these people, that takes a lot of sacrifice for them when that is something that they have as a part of their character every single day. So it takes a lot out of you. And that doesn't even talk about the labor, so these things require a ton of sacrifice. What about money, retirement in the bank? Without having to work your whole life, you really don't think. I mean, think about these we call them the brats. Those who their parents have these mega fortunes, and the kids never have to work, and they're in the glitz and the glamour and everything. Man, they don't value it. They go out and they blow it wherever, and they just think that money grows on trees. They don't value it, and that's why most wealthy people, when you look at the statistics, most wealthy people in America are first generation wealth, because what they find is second generation wealth goes away quickly because they don't know what sacrifice it took to gain it. There's very few exceptions to that rule. Okay, and then on the spiritual end too, a walk into eternity without any kind of obedience or discipline is a joke. That to think that, well, we can just do whatever we want to. We don't have to worry about anything. We can do whatever we want to, and everything's going to be fine there. No, it takes obedience. It takes discipline. It takes constantly striving to be closer and deeper all the time. These are sacrifices. You're sacrificing your own personal decision making and deferring it to a greater authority. So, these are just some examples of things that require sacrifice. So we need to learn to look at exercise in the same manner as these great principles. Okay, so the more that you see it as worthy sacrifice, the easier it is. The easier it is to keep up with. Okay, so you've got to take it outside of the task. Okay, what I mean by that is, as long as you just see exercise as a task, then it's just work to be done. And, most people don't like work. If I viewed going into the office every day as work, honestly, it would, I can just put it in my head that, and there's days like that. Don't think I don't have days too where the moment that I wake up, I think, oh man, I'd really like to stay in bed. Wow, I'd really like to go back to sleep. I'd love to stay in bed. I wish it was Saturday, all these different things. But see, when you take it outside of the work and you put it in terms of what's to gain from it, and you start thinking about the outcome of it, that's when it actually gets exciting, and when you can start to see that it is worthy sacrifice. It's not just work, it's worthy sacrifice. Okay, don't do it. What that really means, don't do it because you need to. Don't think of it like, well, I need to exercise. You've got to get it to the point where you want to exercise, where you can't live without it, where it's a part of sustaining your life. It's a part of sustaining your soul. You've got to make it to where you need to exercise, because if you don't exercise, it completely changes the outcome of your entire day. You feel lousy all throughout the day. So there's a difference between needing to exercise and needing to exercise. There's a definite difference there, and you want to get to that part where you need it, you crave it. Okay, attach a greater purpose to it. Like we talked just a minute ago, as far as all the other greater purposes. If a mom was just looking at the fact that she had to go through all this horrible self-sacrifice and go through labor and everything, yet nothing came from that, or it was like, okay, now you have to give your baby away to adoption the next day. It makes it a lot harder to really value that process and have purpose attached to it. If you didn't see the purpose of what it was going to do, what financial freedom would do for you, it makes it really hard to do the work attached to it and to have the discipline of saving the small pennies all along the way throughout your life to be able to attain that later on in life. So you've got to attach that greater purpose to it. And the greatest purpose that I can really think of is the fact that you are called to be a living sacrifice. Okay? God called your life to be a living sacrifice to Him. And how can you do that if you're not really sacrificing anything in the physical? Talk is cheap. To just talk and say, yes, I am a living sacrifice, is kind of like saying, I'm jumping, even though I'm really sitting in this chair right now. I can say, I can tell you all day long, I'm jumping, I'm jumping, I'm jumping. And it doesn't mean squat. Everybody around me knows that's baloney because I'm not doing. Okay? So you can't really be a living sacrifice if you're not actually sacrificing something in action. Okay? That's why the Bible says faith without works is dead, because faith is not faith unless it's done in works, unless it's done in action, unless you're acting out that faith every single day. Okay, so we're called to be a living sacrifice, and that means keeping our body, the temple of the Spirit, holy and pleasing to God. That means we got to take care of it. Okay, now here's just some examples of how you can attach something that you already love to exercise. Personally, I love audiobooks. If you don't know me well enough, this probably won't surprise you, but I don't listen to a lot of music in the car. I certainly don't listen to the radio. I don't watch TV. My forms of entertainment is basically watching a movie here or there, but whenever I possibly can, I am listening to audiobooks. I absolutely love audiobooks. And I'm not talking John Grisham. I'm not talking love stories and novels, with Fabio on the cover. I'm not talking about that kind of stuff. I'm talking success audios and audios about personal growth and development and chiropractic and how to achieve financial freedom. So, all these different things that are relevant that I can pass them down to the people around me. That's what drives me. That's what I'm passionate about. So that's what I do. So I attach that to exercise. If I can run 8 miles without even thinking about it, because as long as I'm listening to an audiobook. When I was training in my marathon, for my last marathon, I listened to audiobooks constantly, and I probably cleared through, at least half a dozen to a dozen audiobooks just getting to work out. So for me, that worked really, really good. Some of you are prayer warriors that you want, you just love prayer already. Some of us, we don't find prayer as easy. That's a difficult thing to do, and it's not something that is necessarily enjoyed. But other people, they get everything out of prayer. So that would be a good thing if you already get lots of enjoyment out of it and you don't see it as work. You see it as as just a thing that you love to do, or worship. That you can tie that into exercise. Again, on the faith without works is dead thing. When I'm running regularly, if I start feeling bad as I'm running or as I'm exercising, immediately I snap into the mentality that I am in a state of living sacrifice right now. Some of you do music. Some of you like to just be with a friend or run with your spouse or work out with your spouse. That is great, because you get to share in fellowship. Some make it a sport, if your idea is playing basketball, you can work up a really good exercise doing basketball, and it's functional fitness. It's motions that you're going to do throughout regular life. How much of your regular everyday life is doing a dumbbell curl, or doing a bench press. It's just there. You want to do things, activities and your forms of exercise that are applicable to your daily life. All right. Some people like to do it in community. We did a bike ride over in Fairhope, going from downtown Fairhope all the way down to Gulf Shores, Lulu's, about a 34-mile bike ride. And it was great because it was community. There were a couple hundred people there on their bikes, and it was just a community thing. We got to do it together. Other people, they like to do it for dating. And I suppose there's nothing wrong with that, but you can definitely walk into a gym and see who's there to find themselves their next relationship. Whatever floats your boat. But just attach something. If it requires getting a date out of it to get you to the gym, well, then go to the gym and wear your best attire. But just do something that's going to get you there. All right, so exercise right. Okay, general health warning first and foremost. If you have a heart condition and you have these health problems already in place, then you need to make sure that you're in a level of fitness to be able to handle the intensive stuff. I'll give you an example. At our last makeover event, we had a patient, young guy, who just didn't think anything about it, but he hadn't been exercising, he hadn't been doing anything, didn't eat breakfast that morning, didn't, was already not feeling that morning, but we did the surge cycle there, and his specific words to me was, Dr. Mike, I was going for the gold, that he was going all out. And literally, we got done, and 2 minutes later, the guy passes out on the floor, and falls right on his back, wakes up, 30 seconds later, and is like, whoa, what just happened? So you got to make sure that you're ready for it. Now, that doesn't mean don't do it. That doesn't mean find excuses in your health to say that you can't do it. I don't care if you've had bypass surgery. You can find a comfortable level of fitness, but you've got to be smart about it. And, and I'll say, that you want to consult your physician before attaining any kind of exercise program. We'll throw out the regular disclaimer there. So, Here's a few of the basics. If you don't drip, you don't rip. Okay, you've all heard that that saying that wow, that dude's ripped. Muscles just busting out all over the place. Well, you don't get like that unless you're dripping in sweat. Unless you're really working it, you're not going to get like that. You don't get huge calves and and monstrous linebacker thighs by walking around the block. Even if you're walking around the block twice a day, every day, you've got to push your body to the max if you're really going to get the most benefit out of that. Okay, get your heart into it. Get your heart rate up. You've got to find a comfortable level to where you're getting your heart efficiency increasing, because your heart is a muscle too. So the more you use it, the stronger it gets. We look at so many people dying of heart attacks these days, and it's no surprise because they've got weak hearts. They haven't been using that muscle for anything really, so that muscle gets flabby in their body, and then it can't hold up under stress. All right, you want to make sure that you're really getting to a level where you're able to feel a difference. I'll give you a story. Two guys being chased by a bear in the woods. And they're running away, running, and all of a sudden, one of the guys gets caught by the bear, and so he gets eaten, and the other guy gets to the station where the wildlife expert is there, and he says, wow, we got chased by a bear out there, and my friend got caught and he got eaten, and the guy said, wow, that's crazy. You must be really fast. And he says, well, it's not that I'm really fast. It's just that I had to be faster than the other guy. So, you don't have to be the top of the top of the top. You don't have to be the best of the game. Just push yourself to a level where you can see a difference. Where you can see that your body is at an acceptable level of fitness. but push it to the edge. Get to where you are fast, where you are efficient, you are effective. You just don't leave yourself challenged at just mediocre anymore. Mediocre is boring. Lung capacity versus oxygen efficiency. Let's talk about that. Your lung capacity is very different from your oxygen efficiency. You may be able to take a deep breath, but how is your body actually utilizing its oxygen levels? Okay, the more you exercise, especially at the higher intensities, the greater the capacity of your body and the efficiency of burning oxygen in the body is. The greater efficiency your red blood cells have to carry blood. The greater efficiency your cells have of consuming oxygen. They actually begin to be able to survive on less oxygen levels. So this oxygen efficiency is really, really important when you look at the long-term viability of the body. Okay, do you need to know all the numbers? No. Do you need to have tons of special equipment? No. How many people they finally decide that they're going to exercise because they're up late at night watching an infomercial, and they see a commercial for an ab lounger or a treadmill, and so they get on and they say, that's it. This is the day I'm going to change my exercise habits and I'm going to start exercising. So they start, they get online and they order it, and it takes about 6 weeks to get their product in the mail. Okay, so they get it in the mail and they're like, all right, I'm gonna get this thing put together and I'm gonna start exercising. Well, 3 weeks goes by and they finally get to the point where they get to put it together. Okay, and then they get it put together, and now it's been 9-12 weeks since they bought the thing and since they decided that they're gonna exercise, and now it becomes a nice closet piece, or the treadmill becomes a nice laundry basket or clothesline, and we end up never using it. So my encouragement is, do not dare buy any special equipment until you already have a habit of using it. Until you already have a habit of exercising every single day, don't waste your money on equipment. It's a waste of money. You've got to understand that. They sell tons of equipment, yet most of it, probably 90% of it, is not ever used at all. Okay? So let's go through surge training, because the cool thing about this, you don't need to know the numbers. You don't need to have special equipment. Okay? Here's surge training. The purpose is fast, intensive, short burst exercise. They call it high intensity, short duration exercise. Okay, so the intensity is how intense? As intense as you can make it safely. Again, defer back to the general health warning before you just start going mad crazy with this. Build yourself up to it. So warm up to it before you're doing your surge training. Kind of jog in place for a minute or 2 or 3 minutes just to get your heart rate going a little bit. And then what you want to do is you want to go at as high as an intensity as you possibly can. Let's just apply this to running, okay? So you would run in place as hard and as fast as you possibly can. The technique is this. You want to go 20 seconds on, 20 seconds off, 20 seconds on, 20 seconds off, 20 seconds on, 2 minutes off, and then 20 seconds on again. So you're going through basically 4 or 5 20-second bursts of high-intensity exercise, okay? And you're taking breaks in between there to get your oxygen levels back in supply for the demand that you just created. So the technique really doesn't get any more difficult than that. Just go as hard and as fast as you can for 20-second bursts at a time. And you only have to do it, for 4 or 5 sets. You can take a break after that, and you can come back to it and do it again in a few minutes, or even if you just do it once or twice a day in these five short bursts like that. You do that one time a day in the morning. Your body burns fat for 4 hours after you do a high-intensity exercise, okay? So the frequency just depends, the frequency on how much you do it just depends on what kind of level of response you want to get out of it. The higher the frequency, or the more frequent the frequency, I guess I should say, the better off the results are going to be. I have my personal technique. What I like to do is every time I go into the bathroom, we've got a pull-up bar in the bathroom on the closet door. And so I just have a habit that every time I go into my bathroom, I have to knock out 15 pull-ups. Okay, so I go in there and I know I have to do 15 pull-ups every time, so that keeps my upper body in great shape. Even though it's not like something that I have to program in necessarily, it's just a reminder every time I go into the restroom. So I'm a big fan of doing it that way, to where you have it, some kind of an automatic reminder right there in your current environment. Okay, so what about the outcome? If we look at the outcome and what you're trying to actually get out of it, that can determine what you want your intensity to be, what you want your technique and your frequency to be. It wouldn't make a lot of sense if your outcome was to be able to deadlift a car to be going out and doing running exercises. You would want to do something that's relevant to what you're trying to do. So one good way of looking at this is look at your job and see what kind of motions you do regularly during the day. If you lay bricks for a living, and you're bending down and picking up and bending down and picking up, you might want to do something like frog jumps or dips or lunges, or something like that you can do to build up those particular movements that you do all throughout the day. So if you need additional help on the surge training, it's in the patient manual. Go to www.drbucknell.info. That's DRBUCKNELL.INFO. And you can download the patient manual. It has a nice section on there explaining how surge training works in a little bit more detail. It also has additional audios on there. All of the audio workshops are all on there that you can download on your MP3, and you can listen to them on your iPod. You can listen to them while you're running, while you're exercising. Great ideas there. So one other thing that we're going to look at doing is actually recording some online videos and posting those online, just showing you some different techniques that you can use at home with minimal equipment. So keep an eye out for those things. Keep an eye out for the videos, and be checking back on the website regularly until we get those up on there. And we'll be sending out some emails with that too, linking you to it. So just keep in mind as we're wrapping this up, that the difference between a living and a dead person primarily is one moves. That a dead body does not move. Movement is life. Your nerve system sends nerve impulses down across your spine from your brain to every organ in your body, producing a muscular contraction. B.J. Palmer described it as the brain was the human dynamo, and the nerves were the communication lines, the electrical wires running through the body. And all the tissues, all the cells in the body are a series of human motors, that they're literally engines within the body. We call them muscles. And those muscles, expanding and contracting, provide for every single function in the entire body. So it starts with the nerve system, but it ends with keeping those muscles in constant activation so that they stay healthy and they stay functional and they stay free. So great health, is absolutely viral. It's people around you that are looking to you to see how you're doing that is going to make a change in them. You can't preach it if you don't already live it. But if you are on your way and you've got people that you want to help and you want to see them moving in the right direction too, and they see enough of a result in you to want it for themselves, I want to challenge you and encourage you to invite them to one of the next upcoming community dinners. Every month, if you have not been to a community dinner, we are now doing them generally speaking, on the first and the third Monday of the month. And these dinners are where you can bring your friends, your family, your coworkers, your loved ones, your church gatherers, whoever it is, you can bring them to these dinners. And we feed you guys an awesome, awesome meal at Mars Hill Cafe. Great meals there, great food. And we have an awesome presentation where I go through the basic foundational principles with your guests so that they can know that there is a option for them and that they can change their life. And honestly, most of you that are listening to this have come from a patient dinner, so you know how powerful it is. If you haven't been, I encourage you, find a friend, bring somebody that you don't even know. I don't care. but bring them to these dinners so that we can change our lives, change these people's lives, change the community, change the nation, change the world. So I'm glad to have you on board with Maximize Living and what it is that we're doing. I think we've just got incredible things coming in the future. We have an opportunity to completely and radically transform the way that health is seen in this country and change the health of our country, but we need your help to do it. If you're a guest and you are listening to this CD and you want to come in for a wellness evaluation, I'm going to give you a special opportunity to bring this disc in with you, and we will give you your initial wellness evaluation for only $10. Okay, the only catch is that it does not apply to anybody that holds federal insurance. That includes Medicare and Medicaid and and TRICARE and things of that nature. Unfortunately, they will not allow us to discount your care. So due to those guidelines, we can't offer that. But the regular fee is $49. So nonetheless, if you can spare $50 to change your life, you may want to think about it strongly. So encourage you to, if you are a patient and you're listening to this, obviously get this into somebody else's hands. You're done listening to it. Unless if you plan on listening to it later, go home and rip it into MP3 on your computer, or you can download it from drbucknell.info later. But give this disc to a friend so that they can change their life too. Anything else, visit www.drbucknell.com. That's DRBUCKNELL.com for additional information about becoming a Maximize Living patient or additional resources if you already are a patient. So I hope you enjoyed the audio today. You might want to go back like all these and listen to them a couple times because there's a lot in here that you need to suck in. I guarantee you that you did not catch everything that we covered in the first time listening through it. If you did, please call me, and I'm going to actually have you over to my house to record the next audio workshop because you should be recording them and not me. So if that's not the case and I don't get a call from you, then I'm assuming that you've gone back and you've listened to it a couple times so that you can really suck all the juice and all the meat and all the goodness out of it. So I thank you for listening, and I just look forward to getting back with you next month so that we can start challenging the next area of your life. So have a great weekend, have a great week, and just keep living the good life. Thank you.